friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. Today I have a Winter Birds card to share with you. This is a slimline card featuring some images that are actually springtime images. I really like using stamp sets that can be used for multiple times a year, and this one is no exception. I had a lot of fun creating it, so let's get into it. I'm going to be using the Spring Birds stamp set from Simon Says, and I've got a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock here that I'm going to get started with my ink blending, and I picked up one of these Waffle Flower stencil mats. Now I know this is for stenciling, but it is perfect for ink blending as well. I'm using Tumble Glass, Kitsch Flamingo, and Shaded Lilac. I really like these color combinations together. The Kitsch Flamingo and the Shaded Lilac are beautiful together. I usually use Sponge Sugar, which is a lot softer of a pink, but I threw in the Kitsch Flamingo because I just purchased it and I really wanted to see how it worked out, and I really like it together with this Shaded Lilac. And I apologize if you hear any noises in the background. The kids are out playing games with Dad and having a really good time. So if you hear a lot of laughing and shouting, they're having a lot of fun. So continuing on with my ink blending here, I'm bringing in that tumbled glass from the bottom. I really wanted to kind of have a nice kind of soft morning. We have a lot of bird feeders out in our yard for the birds in the wintertime, and we get a lot of little visitors, and I really like it whenever they come in the morning because we have a really pretty view where we're at, and we always see the sunrise, and it kind of looks like this sometimes in the morning, especially in the wintertime, and I wanted to kind of reflect that. But I wanted to add a little bit of snow in the background just so it kind of enhances that snowy scene that I'm going for. So I'm using the Falling Snow stencil and some texture paste from Ranger, and I'm just going to go in. I'm going to go in heavy-handed with this because I really wanted the snowflakes to really stand out, and I didn't want them to pick up any of that distress ink. So I put it on pretty heavy so that it didn't kind of absorb into that color, which it has a tendency to do sometimes. So if you put it on too thin, it'll kind of pull the color, and you can see that through the white snowflakes. So the heavier that I put on this, it'll kind of help block the color from seeping too much through it. But I didn't want to put it on too heavy that it took forever to dry. So I kind of played with it a little bit, so I got a nice kind of consistency and amount on there, and I really like the way that it turned out. I really like this texture paste for doing snow. It is one of my favorites, and it's really easy to use, and you don't need a whole lot. I've had this jar for quite a while, and I just love how that looks on that nice soft background. Looks like a beautiful winter morning. We've had a few of those recently. We've had some snow. Not a ton. It's kind of gone away now, and now we've gotten into the bitter cold here. It's been pretty cold these last couple of days, so I really wanted to kind of showcase these birds. I know that Simon came out with an actual Winter Birds stamp set, but I wanted to kind of show you that you don't necessarily have to have those sets to create winter cards. So I just took some intense black ink from Simon, and I chose some of the images from the stamp set. I'm just stamping it down onto some Copic friendly paper. I'm going to be using my Copic markers today, so I want to make sure that I have a nice crisp black ink that's alcohol friendly. Going to stamp that down a couple of times just to make sure I have a good impression. Now the branch, you can see that has leaves on it. Now I know sometimes in the wintertime there are still a few trees that have some leaves on them, but I didn't want any leaves on mine at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the branches 2 more times so that I have 3 branches in total, and then I'm going to trim the leaves off later after I die cut it. Just so I can kind of show you there's easy ways to utilize those branches and those birds for different seasons, and I really like that with stamp sets. You can get more use out of them, so you don't have to have a stamp set for every season. You can use it throughout the year. Going through and doing the same stamping process as I did before, just with some scratch paper that I have, kind of use up some of my scraps, and I wasn't too concerned about getting the leaves stamped because I'm going to be trimming those off later. Once I have all of my images stamped down, and I've dried them with my heat tool a little bit just to make sure that they're nice and dry because I did a couple of layers of ink, I'm going to go right in with my Copic coloring. All of the Copic markers that I'm going to be using today will be listed along the side of the screen in case you want to follow along. I'm going to put on some music and we'll finish up this card together. Once I was finished with all the coloring, I cut everything out with the coordinating dies. Next, I took all of my branches and I took my scissors and I just trimmed off all of the leaves. Now, once I did that, you can kind of see that I still have areas where you can see where there used to be leaves. So what I did was, is after I had all of the leaves trimmed off, I took my jelly roll pen, my white one, and I went around and I kind of colored away the areas so that they looked like finished leaves. I used my number 10 jelly roll pen because it has the bigger point on the end, and it kind of puts out more of the actual ink in the pen. So it kind of helps cover up quite a bit, and it covered up this dark brown very, very well. So again, you can see I'm just kind of shaping that to look like the ends of little branches that don't have any leaves on them. Now you could trim it a little bit nicer with your scissors. Mine was a little rough around the edges, but I wasn't super concerned about it just because I figured, branches are rough. I don't think anybody was going to be too concerned about it. So I went around and I did that for all of my branches. I cut a couple of limbs off just to kind of make them all a little bit different. And then I went in with that same jelly roll pen and added a little bit of highlights to my birds. I really like the coloring I did with these. I did a lot of research ahead of time. I looked up chickadees and cardinals, and I practiced a couple of times just to make sure I got the coloring right. These black-capped chickadees are some of my favorite birds that we get here in the winter. Anytime that we're out in the woods and we see them, I get really, I've loved to watch them because they're so funny. Next, I took some of my Slimline dies and I created a frame, and I'm going to get ready to assemble our card. So I took my card base, which is cut to 8.5 by 7, and I scored it at 3.5, and I just folded it inside out so I could stamp on the inside. I'm going to take that same branch and I'm going to stamp it down using some Simon Says fog ink, and I'm kind of put the ink all over it, and then I'm going to go in with a cloth and kind of wipe away where the leaves are at, just so it kind of gives it the illusion that it is a branch without leaves. You can kind of see the leaves a little bit where I didn't get them wiped away very well, but I wasn't super concerned about it. The illusion that it is a leafless branch is there. Again, we're not going for perfection. Perfection is overrated. Whoever receives this card will get the idea that this is a leafless branch. And then I'm going to stamp down the cardinal on the inside as well. Again, just to kind of tie everything together. I really like the cardinal image. Now again, I didn't mask the branch or anything like that, so you're going to see some of the branch through the bird, but again, wasn't super concerned about it. It's the inside of the card. You're going to write in it. Not very many people will notice it, and I don't think they'll be too bothered by it. Again, just taking that fog ink, stamping it down, and the inside of our card is all finished. Now we can start the actual assembly of our card. Get that folded in the right way. Use my bone folder to press that down. And I just trimmed the colored panel down as well. I'm going to use my liquid glue to adhere this one down to the back. And then I'm going to use foam tape to pop up our little frame. And I really love this background. I love how soft it looks, especially with the snowflakes. Those are kind of my favorite snowstorms that we get, where it's just big snowflakes, and they come down really soft, almost like a snow globe. And then the wind comes across and kind of swirls them all up, and then they come back down really soft. It's one of my favorites. We had one a few days ago, and it was so pretty. I just loved staring at it outside. It just looked like a big snow globe that we were all getting shook up, and the snowflakes were coming down really pretty. Again, some of my favorites. I love snow. I love looking at snow. I think it is beautiful. I just don't like the cold. It has been pretty cold here. It's been pretty brutal. It's been very cold. I mean, we don't get Canadian cold, but we get pretty cold here. We're in central Pennsylvania, so it does get fairly cold here as well. We finally got the cold. I mean, I think it was 62 degrees on Christmas, which I was really depressed about, but a lot of my family members were excited about it. But now winter has finally found us, and nobody's thrilled about it because everybody's ready for spring now. Now that the holidays are over, winter can be done too. I got a little bit of a boo-boo on my frame here, and I just used my mono eraser to erase that away. And I'm going to work on my greeting. I pulled out a greeting from the Inside Kindness stamp set from Honeybee. This has become a new favorite. There are so many wonderful stamps in this set that can be used for any occasion. It can be mixed and matched with any company. They're so wonderful. I'm actually going to try to get some of their other Inside sentiments that they have. I think they have for birthdays. They have thank you. I think they have a holiday one as well. But these are just so wonderful. I love all of these greetings, and I wanted to have a nice long greeting to kind of help fill in some empty space on the card. So I just took some clear embossing ink and I stamped it down onto this black paper, and I'm going to be using some alabaster white embossing powder. And the nice thing about these Inside sentiments is that they all have coordinating dies, which I absolutely love. One of my favorite things is to go around and cut out greetings, fussy cut them if they don't have a coordinating die, just because I really like the look of that. And Honeybee does that for you with their stamps. So this is, again, another reason why this is a favorite. It gives me exactly what I'm looking for, a nice greeting that's not this big chunk of black cardstock or colored cardstock on your paper. It's just a nice outline, and I think it really pops. Goes really well with all of those colored images. Gonna fiddle around and fuss until I've got my images exactly where I want them, and then I can start adhering them down. My husband's favorite was this little cardinal here. We haven't had too many cardinals lately. We had them at the beginning of winter, We had a couple of females and a few males come through, but we always have the chickadees and the sparrows and all of the winter birds, blue jays, all of those come by. We even get the deer come into our bird feeders. They knock them all over the place, and then we have to go out and fill them back up for the birds. But the nice thing is we don't get very many squirrels. We have woods all around us, and our yard's fairly large. We have two maple trees in our yard, but we don't get very many squirrels, which I think the birds are really thankful for, because the squirrels don't come in and steal their bird food, but the deer come in and steal it, and we get bears. The bears steal it too. So but it's nice to see the birds in the wintertime. The kids really enjoy them, especially the little guy. He loves to watch them. Going to go through and add some foam tape on the back of my little birds here. And again, I love these chickadees. I think they're so sweet, and it's nice that these birds can be colored any way that you want. The cardinal, it could be colored to look like a blue jay. The chickadees could be colored to look like sparrows or finches or anything like that. So this is another reason why I really like this set. It's so versatile. You can color it any way that you like. You don't have to color them to look like any kind of bird. You could color them to look like anything that you want. I've seen a couple people do them as rainbows, those sorts of things. So a lot of fun with this stamp set. Again, a lot of uses, really versatile. Going to go through and add the same foam tape on the back of our greeting to pop it up. Then we're going to go in with a little bit of embellishment and some finishing details. I just love that greeting. Just wanted to stop by and say hello. That's what I feel birds do, so I felt that this greeting was perfect for this card. Going to go through with some snowflake embellishments from Tailored Expressions. I'm just going to use the small ones, and I'm just going to adhere them down using my liquid glue. And I really felt like this kind of added to that snowy scene. I didn't want to have a ton of snow because it's not, it's a winter card. It's not a holiday card, which I really like. It's a winter themed card. I always get a tendency to go straight into spring after Christmas, or I go straight into like Easter. I never usually did a ton of Valentine's, just because Valentine's Day is not really my favorite holiday, but I always seem to just jump right into spring and stuff. So it was kind of nice to go into with a couple of winter cards, because some people have birthdays in winter time, so it was nice to kind of throw that in here as well, something that was winter but not Christmas themed. Next, I'm going in with some crystal drops from Nuvo in Simply White, and I'm adding some snow on top of these branches. I really like the way that this looked. If you had some like chunky glitter or, chunky snowflake bits or anything like that, you could add those to the top of this Nuvo drops, because it's wet, and it would kind of give you that snow look. I didn't on this, but I think it looks great anyway. Finishing up with a little bit of glitter gel pen, and this will finish up this card for today. I really hope you enjoyed this soft winter scene featuring some beautiful birds. I really had a lot of fun creating this card. If you like the card, go ahead and hit the like button, as well as the subscribe, so you don't miss out on any more videos here at my YouTube channel. I can't wait to share with you the next one. Have a great day. Bye.
On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.